Yeah.
Okay. Rest is going to be big for your guys. It's big for coaches, all of you guys. But more specifically, how big is this rest going to be for Graham Ike, who only played 12 games last year?
Well, I mean, it's going to be good for all of us. But, in case of, Graham, Maldo, those guys that have played, a lot of minutes. In the case of Maldo, he's been through the grind of a real regular season where you're playing 31 games and then you add it's even a tougher 31 game schedule when you consider how condensed it got. And so, for Graham, just a matter of, him just having a few days to kind of just catch his breath, get his legs back underneath him. I think it'll play a big part. The other part too is, we played some good teams during that stretch. A lot of those teams, try to get the ball out of his hands. Now, UNLV, they actually played him straight up, but, it's just part of it, part of the process, part of the growth process. And I think for all of us, and as you said, coaches included, I think we all needed a day where we didn't have to do anything. And we hadn't had one of those days in a long time where you didn't have to worry about, watching film or doing this, that, and another. You could just kind of decompress a little bit. So hopefully that'll help us as we move forward.
Do you feel like the Rebels are going to play them straight up again?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not, they, with the size that they have, they said, hey, just go try to beat us one-on-one. And their guys did a good job of, forcing him to go 6-19. So, we're ready for anything and everything. I said this time of year, Graham, Maldo, we've seen every single type of coverage you could imagine. So, regardless of what they do, we'll have a plan.
Jeff, on the offensive end at UNLV, did you like the shots that X and Odin got, or just how can they kind of improve, chipping in on that end?
Well, I think, you go back and watch. I thought, we missed 40 shots in that game, and, UNLV, to their credit, they're not lacking length and athleticism. They got a bunch of guys that, they were Big 12 transfers, and there's a reason why they were in the Big 12. You don't get to the Big 12 by not being a good athlete. So, they played a part, but I thought, when we go back and we grade the film, I thought the quality of our shots were really high. And we just was one of those deals where, it's sometimes you just don't make shots, but also we had a lot of games in a short period of time. And I thought the shots that Jo got were really good shots for the most part. What X got, it's a make or miss game, and they made, and as many shots as we missed, we were still right there with 3 or 4 minutes left. But give them credit, they found a way to make those shots at the end, and we didn't.
How much does it help just from a confidence standpoint on the defensive end, just having gone up against Hamilton and by his standards, having him have a bad night whenever y'all played him?
Well, I think, and I really like what UNLV does. They don't complicate things. They just, they play in space, set a lot of ball screens, different spacing situations out of the ball screen. And, for us, we didn't have, we played San Diego State on Monday. We had played Nevada on Saturday. We didn't practice. We didn't do anything on the court until we got to shoot around the day of the game. Our guys, where we were at, trying to practice and do things on the court that Tuesday. And so it was more one of those, it was like an NBA scout where you had to really dial in terms of visually the film, understanding the scouting report. And we probably, when we go back and we grade it based off of scouting mistakes, it was one of the games where we had made the highest number of scouting mistakes. And I think a lot of that had to do with such a quick turnaround and not having played them before. It would have been one thing if we had played them, but that was the first time we had played them. So there wasn't necessarily a lot of familiarity, but I thought, for the most part, we did a good job, making it difficult for Hamilton, and that's all you can do. You're not going to necessarily stop them. And, you got to do a good job of, trying to get the ball out of his hands. And, he made some plays, with the pass that hurt us, but, it's going to be, one of those deals where it's you're at the mercy of him making or missing shots.
And Jeff, what kind of shape is hello?
Who's that? You there, Tracy?
Yeah, Maldonado, what kind of physical shape do you think he can be in by the time you play? Has he come along pretty well?
Yeah, even since Saturday, I mean, he's come a long way. Some of the swelling has gone down in his eye, and then just he had his eyes dilated the day before, and so I mean his vision was good during the Saturday's game, but now he's tracking things better. So hopefully, so with the next couple of days, and not like we're going to do a ton, in terms of physical contact, but if we can kind of get through these next few days, at least I don't think he'll have to wear that mask, which I know he didn't like, but it was something they needed to do.
Was it nice to see Maldo and Graham make the first team?
Yeah, I mean, it's always, it just shows you in terms of, the work that they've put in, and also, their teammates in terms of, allowing them and putting them in position to do that as well. I mean, it's a collective effort of how we play offensively. And if you don't have those other guys around them that keep the floor spaced and make the other team pay for, doubling, I mean, it all goes hand in hand. I mean, that's why we're 24-7, and probably from a winning standpoint, I think Seaman might've said since 1954, the highest number of wins, 51-52, excuse me. And so, for us to be in that position, I mean, you got to have good players, and just glad to see too. We'll see how the coaches come out, but I know, like in the case of Graham, where he's the one guy in the league that every single game, I mean, just they double him, and there's nobody in the league that sees that, where he forces you to put 2 on the ball pretty much every single time he gets the ball. And so, even though his stats the last couple of games, we're down from a shooting standpoint, but also his number of touch, his number of shots, definitely went down a little bit too, just because of the amount of double teams he saw. But both those guys, I mean, with what they did, I mean, they're the reason why we've been put in this position, with their ability to force the defense to have to make a lot of decisions on how you're going to guard us.
Jeff, I think most bracketologists have you guys between a 9 and 12 seed right now. For you heading into this week, before the tournament, what would be your pitch to the selection committee on why the Cowboys deserve to get in, regardless of what happens this week?
Well, I mean, I think, the quality of our league, I mean, from top to bottom, I mean, it's a tough, I mean, it's one of the tougher leagues in the country. I think that's been proven. We had to go through a stretch of games there, especially towards the end, that not a lot of teams had to endure. I mean, I think, we all know that, but hopefully as they move forward. But at the same time, I mean, you also don't want to put your fate in somebody else's hands. And by doing, you do that by going and winning the Mountain West tournament. So, we just focus one game at a time, got to win the first one. Can't worry about the second or third one, but at the same time, I mean, don't put it in somebody else's hands. But, for guys, I mean, to put ourselves in that position, it's a testament to those guys and how hard they've worked to put us in a position where, you expect and hope to hear your name on Sunday.
Jeff, we all know what Hamilton can do, but how important after last game is it to shut down, his supporting cast with guys like Ham and letting him have open looks from 3 and Webster off the bench and guys like that? How important is it going to be to shut down their supporting cast along with Hamilton?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you want to shut everybody down. I mean, I guess that's probably what a good defensive team does. But at the same time, I mean, they got guys that, there's a reason why they're at UNLV. I mean, they got guys that can make shots, and you got to guard in the right way. We had some defensive breakdowns that gave them some probably more open looks than we would have liked, and give them credit that they knocked them down. But, it's the goal every possession is, can you force them to miss shots? And, regardless if that's Hamilton, Nuga, Webster, I mean, Ham, he makes a couple, but you know what? Orlando Robinson makes a couple, or a guy from Baker from Nevada, they make a couple. I mean, you got to give up something every now and then, and give credit to Ham for making a few shots. But, there was probably, those weren't necessarily the ones that broke. I mean, just some of the little ones, some of the little mistakes that we made that, it's a death by 1,000 paper cuts. And so hopefully, with some rest and a little bit more prep time, we can cut down. We won't play a perfect game, but if we can cut down some of our mistakes, we'll give ourselves a better chance.
Wyoming historically has struggled against UNLV in this building. Do you kind of view this as a road game, or do you think the vibe will be totally different and it can be a true neutral court game for you guys?
Yeah, I know. I mean, the way the Mountain West configures the floor and it changes everything up. It's a neutral game, so we're not looking into it as, hey, we're having to go play UNLV on their home court. It is what it is, and we just know that we only control what we can control, and just go out there and try to play as best as we can, regardless of who it is.
Speaking of things that aren't in your control, is the weather going to mess with you guys at all getting out of Laramie?
No, it'd be nice to get out of here on tomorrow, and hopefully the girls team will still be rocking and rolling, and we can go watch them and support them, and then to be able to get a little bit more vitamin D and to feel 65, 70 degrees definitely won't be a bad thing for us.
You guys good? Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.